What is the longest period of time you've gone where you're still eating Christmas leftovers? Has anybody made it to February? That's my question for you. Has anyone made it to February, even last week of January, and you're still eating the Christmas leftovers? I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you've been able to do that. So Filipinos are masters of reinventing a new dish from leftovers. I don't know if this is something to do with the Catholic traditions, the resurrection, but they take something that is dried out and old and gnarly, and then they completely resurrect it into a new dish that also tastes delicious. And I'm not talking about just going, oh yeah, I have a 10-kilo ham, so then I make ham sandwiches, because that's what we do in Australia. It's like, oh yeah, we're really creative. We stick the ham in a bread and eat it. Filipinos are much more creative than that with how they reinvent their dishes and recreate and save food. So today I'm going to give you the top 5 ways that I've seen Filipinos creatively extend food by another week or 2 so they can keep on eating it. So let's check it out. So the first one is that Filipinos will not let anything go to waste. So if they're having like chicken or a beef dish where the beef's on the bones or ribs or something like that, there's any kind of meat or flavor still on those, they're going into a stock pot and being cooked down into a stock. That makes me very happy because I love to make natural stock. Like when I buy a chicken, for example, and I'm going to use it to make, say, curry, I might boil it for 2 hours first before I use it in the chicken curry. And then I take that stock and I might freeze it, use it to make a different ulam later on. So in this day and age where everything's packet mix and convenience, it's really nice when you see Filipinos, particularly outside of Manila in the province, going, we're not going to let any of the animal that we ate go to waste. We'll boil this down and make it into a delicious soup stock or broth that they can then use for cooking later that week or the next week, or minsan ilagay nila sa freezer. So pwede silang magamit yung itong stock sa susunod na buwan kung halimbawa. So that's one of the best ways to extend the life of some of your food, or even get a new dish out of it a month or 2 months from now from your Christmas handa. So my favorite things to make with a stock after the fact would be tinola, arroz caldo, where you're really looking to flavor the rice with a really hearty chicken broth. If you do that with a pre-made stock, it's super intense flavor. And then in beef dishes, you might look at some of the stews, like even using a cup of stock in caldereta, for example, is going to intensify the flavors. And of course, pochero, which does actually use stock, you can make that on the spot. But if you're looking to save time, you can just pull out 500 ml of really intense stock that you made a few months ago. That's great. So those are some of the things you can do with your stock. And the next one is taking your overripe bananas and turning them into banana pancakes. So what do you do with all of those overripe bananas? So you buy the big bunch, and people are eating a lot of them, but a bunch of bananas is huge. You get like 80 pieces or something. So I always find that I end up, when I buy fruit to feed the buong barangay, that I'm always gonna have some wastage at the end, some bananas getting a bit too ripe to eat on their own. But don't throw those away, mga kabano. What you can do with them, of course, is mash them up and make them into a simple improvised pancake. So I like to mash mine muna sa isang bowl, get it nice and fine, and then I will add in literally the standard pancake recipe is the easiest thing to remember. You just have to remember the number 1 cup flour, 1 egg, 1 cup milk, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Don't forget the baking soda. You forget that, and then you're like, man, my pancakes, what's wrong with me? I'm a terrible cook. It's like you forgot the baking soda. So don't forget that, but it's literally 4 ingredients. And then you mash some bananas through. And if you have family in Canada who send you balikbayan boxes with maple syrup, that's the best. Then you have your maple syrup banana pancakes with a little something from Canada. So that is the best thing you can do with your old bananas that are spoiling after Christmas. So the next one on my list is hamonado to ham and egg sandwich spread. So this basically involves taking whatever hamonado you had, chopping it up into small pieces and then mixing it through. So then you mash some boiled eggs, and then you get some mayo, which you probably use to make like a macaroni salad or whatever. So you probably have mayo in your fridge. Eggs, you can boil those anytime. And then the hamonado, you're like, how do I reinvent it? So you chop that up and then you put these together, probably a little bit of salt and pepper, and then you're gonna put that in your pandesal. A Filipino pandesal with a legit sandwich spread is delicious. Just try it, just take my word for it. If you're not a Filipino, go to a Filipino house 2 days after Christmas, knock on the door, they're gonna give you a pandesal with a delicious sandwich filling. That's how it works. Introduce yourself first. Tell them you're the neighbor or something. If you can say a few words of Filipino to endear yourself, then they're gonna invite you and give you a pandesal. So the other thing you do, of course, is if you don't want to make sandwich spread, Filipinos often chop the leftover hamonado up and use it in a fried rice, so like a Chinese style fried rice. So you chop that, maybe a few other vegetables. You probably have leftover rice as well. So that's another good way to use up your hamonado after Christmas. So now you have an abundance of ube halaya or leche flan from Christmas time. What do you do with that? That one is straight into your halo halo. So your halo halo mostly comprises preserved beans and gulaman and sago that you're gonna have on hand if you make halo halo regularly. So you've got that already. And then when you have those leftover ube halaya and leche flan, those have a short shelf life, like you can't keep that forever. So of course the answer to your problem is grab your preserved stuff here, get a bit of shaved ice and milk or condensed milk or evap milk, and then combine that with basically your leftover desserts from Christmas time. And that just makes halo halo excellent. Like I've always said this about halo halo, what takes it to the next level, what makes it like a globally excellent dessert or panghimagas is the addition of the ube halaya, which is like indigenous Filipino root crop made into a kind of a yam paste. And then leche flan, which is the king of Spanish desserts. When you put those together, and it's Southeast Asia meets Philippines meets so many other cultures in between with halo halo, but those for me are my two favorite ingredients. So if you can make leftovers into something great, then you're a legend. So try that one out. And the last thing that Filipinos will do is, what do you do when you have a pig on your Christmas table that's this big? There's always gonna be some leftovers of that, no matter how big your family is. So Filipinos will take their lechon and they'll turn it into lechon paksiw. So paksiw is basically the act of cooking or simmering food in vinegar in order to prolong its shelf life. And you can call that category of cooking paksiwin, like that's kind of the generic name for anything that's been cooked in vinegar to preserve. Now, lechon paksiw, what's different there is obviously you're using the pork meat that came from your lechon or your whole roast pig. And then to the vinegar, you would typically add the lechon sauce, kasi kawawa naman diba yung lechon sauce. Now, lechon sauce is actually a lot more complicated than you think. It's actually a liver sauce. Like a real lechon sauce uses real pork livers. It's almost like pate with like a sweet pate almost. It's thinner, it's runnier, it's a sauce, not like a harder thing that you spread on toast, but it's actually quite a complex sauce of its own and very rich. So when you make lechon paksiw, you're kind of adding this sweet and creaminess from the lechon sauce, but then also acidity from the vinegar that balances it out. So it's absolutely delicious. It's way nicer to have this with the lechon sauce in there than without, but you're still gonna eat it even if it's just paksiw in, right? So it's delicious. Okay, mga kabano, so that's my top 5 ideas for you of how to avoid any waste this year from all of your leftovers and how to recycle them. I want you to leave any of your ideas below that we didn't cover today. If you've got like a great thing that you do to recycle food or to repurpose it or to reinvent it or to resurrect it back from the dead, so leave a comment as always. And I hope you guys had a great Christmas. I hope you guys have a wonderful end of year and a great start to 2018. Hope you have a good vacation wherever it is that you're going. Stay safe, mga kabano. Eat well, be happy. I'm Chris Urbano. See you next time. Bye now.